Among the privileges of hosting a talk show is that you occasionally get to interview one of your heroes. Now, my next guest is one of America's great novelists and the author of more than 50 novels. He writes, I told you he writes these gritty crime thrillers. They're just fantastic. If you haven't read any of these stuff, read it. If you like, they're kind of like sexy, grimy, the Da Vinci Code. See what I'm saying? There's like, you got to solve, you got to think, then who could it be? And maybe it's that way. But also, his late, I'm very literate, obviously, when I'm talking about this. His latest thriller is called All the Flowers Are Dying. It's in bookstores now. Please welcome one of my favorite writers, the talented Lawrence Block, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Does it happen a lot in the life of a novelist? You go on late night talk shows?
It happens hardly ever.
Yeah. Really? I can't imagine why.
It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny. You write a lot about the character. There's a lot of different characters that run. You have like 3 or 4 different characters in different books. One is Matthew Scudder. He's a cop who's a recovering alcoholic. An ex-cop. He's a recovering alcoholic. He's my favorite. Because that's the because he starts off when the first book about, what's his first book, Matthew Scudder?
The first book is The Sins of the Fathers.
Sins of the Fathers. And he's drunk in that book.
Yes.
And then through the books he gets sober and then he thinks about drinking, but he doesn't, and then murders happen. He has a very rough life, though.
It's not easy.
No, every time I pick up a book, somebody's dead.
Yeah.
You don't base this in your own life, do you?
No. I sit very quietly in a room and write. I wouldn't trade lives with him for the world.
No, it's a tough life he has. And do you base anything on, in that character? He lives in New York. You're a New Yorker. You live in New York. Do you walk around for inspiration? Do you base it in any of your own life? Do you ever look at your own life for that kind of inspiration?
We started out in vaguely similar circumstances, because when I started writing about him, I was recently separated from my first wife.
Right.
I was living in the same neighborhood that Scudder lives in.
Yeah.
And I selected that for him because that way I didn't have to walk around quite as far as I would otherwise. And then we've gone different directions. Of course, he had a police background, I did not, and so on.
And your other character, one of the other characters is Bernie Rodenbach.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's a burglar.
He is.
Yeah, and
he is.
You ever been a burglar?
Not quite.
Really? But you've been close to being a burglar then?
Yes.
Do you want to talk about it, or is it a statute of limitations problem?
I can tell you if it'll go no further.
No. Trust me, nobody's watching.
Yes. It actually, I didn't have a hard time getting started as a writer. I was always able to make a living at it, and I started when I was in college and that. And I did nothing else for 15 years. And then in the mid-'70s, I just had a divorce.
Those are expensive.
Yeah. Well, there was nothing to divide, so it was very easy. But I had difficulties of one sort or another, and I tried a geographical cure for a non-geographical problem. And I wound up out in Los Angeles, as a matter of fact, living at a hotel on Highland. On Franklin Street.
Wow, fancy.
Yeah. And I couldn't make a living writing anymore. I couldn't get things written. Nothing was going well. And I was qualified for absolutely nothing. I had no job experience. And not much in the way of self-confidence. I would look at the classifieds and I would see something that read something along the lines of, men wanted to sweep up after the horses. Right. And I would think, well, I could do that. Learning curve can't be too steep on that one. And then it would say, experience a must.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what the hell to do.
So did you ever actually break in anywhere?
Well, a little voice said to me, don't rule out crime.
Don't rule out crime.
Yeah. And I thought, well, what could I do that would be criminal that I could do?
Well, you could be an agent. You could be an...
Yeah, I should have thought of that.
Well, no. You're better doing what you're doing. So you developed a world of crime that your characters live in.
I taught myself to open the door of my hotel room with a credit card.
You can really do that?
I got rather good at it, but I felt it was a limited frontier, because all that meant was that I could get into other rooms in that hotel. And no one there had anything you'd want to see.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Hotel.
And I thought, if I get caught, I'll throw myself on the mercy of the court. I've got an immaculate record. I'll probably get probation or a warning or something like that. And then I thought, suppose there's a dead body in another room.
That's what happens in the books, isn't it?
Yes.
He would break in somewhere and there's a dead body.
That's exactly what happened in the first book. Because after I had the thought, I thought that would be a problem.
Oh yes, that would be a problem.
And then I thought that would be a book, And within a day or two that I started it, and it was indeed Burglars Can't Be Choosers. It was the first book about Bernie Rodenbach.
Yeah.
So the man saved me from a life of crime.
That's fantastic. Yeah. What a relief.
Yeah, it was.
There's another character, a newer character that's coming up, Keller.
Yes.
Keller is a hitman. He's the hero of the book, but he's a licensed killer.
He is.
He flies out of town, he whacks people, he flies back,
Yes.
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 I mean, it's kind of anti-hero to the extreme, isn't it? I mean, he's the nice guy in the book, but his job is killing people.
People like the character. I don't know why.
I like him. I don't know why either.
I know. I was at a signing one time, and a woman said, "I think you're doing something very subversive here. You may not know it," she said. But I was reading the book, and I was about halfway through, and I looked up into the middle distance, and I said to myself, well, so he kills people. What's so bad about that? I don't want to have that effect on people. I know it's bad.
It's very bad. It's very, very naughty indeed.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't you ever do it.
I wouldn't.
But keep them dying in the books, because I love it. I love it. Lawrence Block, everybody. All the flowers are dying in bookstores now. We'll be right back with the Hollow Men.